الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We continue where we left off last week, and we ended off. Well, we covered the awqat al-salah and how salah, the times are determined for salah. But salah in itself, or the times of salah, is broken up into two groups. It is waqtul ada and waqtul qada. Basically meaning when it is on time and when it is out of time. Right? When we speak about waqtul ada, when it is on time, that is further broken up into three groups. And that is waqt bidayah, waqt wasat, and waqt nihayah. Meaning there is, when the waqt is in, there is a beginning of the waqt, there is a middle of the waqt, and there is an end of the waqt. The hadith of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam says the following, and this hadith is narrated by Darqutni and Abi Mahdhura, and is considered authentic, بسند صحيح. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أول وقت رضوان الله ووسط الوقت رحمة الله وآخر الوقت عفو الله عز وجل. That when you make salah and you do it right on time, in other words, adhan is gone, qama is gone, and you are right there, then the first part of the salah, or that first period that you are in the salah, is happiness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, Allah's happy with you that you do the salah on time, at the beginning of the time. وَوَسَطَ الْوَقْتِ رَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ. If you do the salah in the middle of the time allocated, then you achieve the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you achieve وَآخِرُ الْوَقْتِ عَفْوُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ, and the last part of the waqt is the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you go back to that hadith, and you see Ridwanullah, when you have the happiness of Allah Ta'ala on you, you're covered with everything. Right? Everything in there is covered when you do your salah at the beginning. When you do it in the middle, you've achieved the mercy of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And when you do it at the end, you have achieved the forgiveness of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Now the beginning of the waqt, the ulama called waqt fadilah. Ulama of fiqh calls it waqt fadilah. Now, to have a close translation to that in English, I decided to call it best practice. Best practice meaning that you do it right at the beginning when it's due. You do your salah on time, right? Because it is the time that is preferred, that you requested to do at the beginning. Right? In other words, like in Arabic we will say it's afdal. It's best practice, right? So that you may attain that ridwanullah, that satisfaction, that happiness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was asked, وَقَدْ سُئِلَ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم أَيُّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَفْضَلُ. What is the best actions, what is the best thing that I can do? And many of us today, and you see people ask, what is the best that I can do in terms of action and things like that? And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam responded to this person and says, as-salah li waqtiha, to make your salah on time. Because it achieves, you achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the happiness of Allah ta'ala. So if you want to know what is the best thing that I do, is to make the salah on time, when the waqt is in, meaning right at the beginning. Now we come to the middle part of the waqt. Remember, we've broken the waqt up Bidaya, wasat, nihaya. Beginning, middle, end. Waqtul wasat is what the ulama called waqtan ikhtiyariyan, meaning it's like an extended time. Right? It's not the beginning, it's further into the time. Right? It comes after the waqtul fadila, after that beginning stage, meaning after, you remember that we said the beginning stage is seen as what? Is seen as when the adhan is gone, the iqamah is gone, the person needed to take wudu, face the qibla, get dressed, or cover his aura, all of those things, that period is gone. So after that comes waqtul wasat, right? So it is that extended period that the ulama call waqt muwassa', meaning that it is been extended. And it is permissible for you to delay your salah in that time. From the waqtul fadila, it is permissible, your salah will still be accepted on time and so on, without any dissatisfaction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Without any dissatisfaction. So that is now the middle of the time. Normally people say, when is best, you can then delay if you are busy with something to that time. Right? But not like sometimes people delay, and the whole waqt is gone. So that is then you have not achieved the satisfaction of Allah Ta'ala. But when we speak about nihayatul waqt, the end of the time, this is called waqt darura. Now what does waqt darura mean? You have been delayed through no fault of your own. You are at the end of the waqt. You have been delayed, but it wasn't a fault from your side. I'm not talking about the person who delays amdan purposefully. He knows it's time for salah. Okay, wait. This is a person that has been delayed, but it was no fault of his, right? Or her. So that is called waqtul darura, and it is a darura shar'iyyah. It's a shar'i need, let's put it that way, that has happened, that gives you that permissibility. Waqtul darura is when you have barely enough time to do one rak'ah. If you have completed one complete rak'ah, let's say you delayed Asr, and you close on to Maghrib, and you completed one rak'ah before the adhan goes, then it is still adaan, like we say. It's still in the time, because the ulama says, you have managed to complete one rak'ah, and you have covered all of the other things that preceded that, right? And some of the ulama says it's about 15 minutes before the next waqt comes in. Because all the time that you're going to take wudu, and to get yourself dressed and ready, and whatever the case may be, right? But if the time has gone out, you've missed the end of the waqt, then the salah becomes qada'an. Qada. So ada we had there, and ada we said is broken up into three. The beginning of the waqt is your satisfaction and happiness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The middle of the waqt gives you what? The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the end of the waqt is when you've got forgiveness. So you can imagine, when you've come to the end of the waqt, you need the forgiveness. Ya Allah, accept my salah. I'm at the end here. And you've attained the waqt, the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can manage to do one rak'ah, and I don't mean Speedy Gonzales rak'ah, right? I don't mean that one, it kissed up and down, kiss the ground. Then you lost out completely, wasted the time, right? Okay. Why is it so important that you do not miss the waqt. Because if you miss the waqt, then you have fallen in a sin. If you don't have a shar'i reason for why you delayed me. And we're going to come to that. Why you have preferred other things above going into submission to Allah Ta'ala. You prefer other things. You put other things ahead there. So it's almost like one could almost say that you have preferred others above Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It becomes so severe that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in a surah that you're very familiar with, Surah Al-Ma'un, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says there's a valley in the Jahannam for who? فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. For the people that make salah, but they are negligent with the salah. They are negligent with salah. So you're going to come in front of Allah, Ya Rabbi, I made salah. Where did you make salah? You didn't. You wanted to first finish the mechanics on the car and then you wanted to go make salah. You wanted to finish painting the wall first and then you wanted to make salah. You wanted to fix this, run there, get this document, get this done, whatever the case may be. Sorry, I must get on the phone, Telkom, my phone is not working, and there goes the salah. So you have preferred others. So Allah Ta'ala says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. There is a valley in the Jahannam for who? For the people who make salah. May Allah protect. Ameen Ya Rabb. May Allah protect. There is a valley in the Jahannam for the people who make salah. Who are these people? They are the people that are negligent, careless, heedless with their salah. Right. Now we said that there is a darura. There was a need that kept you from making salah, which is recognized by the Sharia, recognized by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We know that the salah is, inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta. That the waqt is specific times, Allah Ta'ala says. So we know that it's mu'ayyan, it's specific, and it must be done in that. And it's not permissible for you to decide when the waqt must be. You must follow whatever Allah Ta'ala said. Except is it by necessity that the Sharia allows. By necessity that the Sharia allows. Hadith from the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gives us the opportunity to take these kind of necessities that allows us to make the salah out of its time, but it's a necessity. So one of the hadith that we covered, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Rufi al-qalam an thalathatin. There are three people that is not going to be held responsible for what they do. عن النائم حتى يستيقظ عن الصبي حتى يحتلم وعن المجنون حتى يفيق. For the person who sleeps until he wakes up, you're not held responsible for that. Right? And the child that is baligh, and when he becomes baligh, then you become responsible for the actions that you do. And the last one is a person that has lost their sanity until their sanity comes back to them. So these three people are not held responsible. So the first of that is an-nawm, to sleep. Fallen asleep, and there you sleep right through the waqt. All right? I don't know if you can sleep. Can you sleep through 2 waqts? Or 3? I don't know if you can sleep through 2 or 3 or 4 waqts. 2, no? Right. So if you have overslept, then it is not a sin by Allah Ta'ala in terms of this hadith of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. But when you get up there, you jump up, go take wudu, and you can make your salah. As long as, you remember we did innamal a'malu binniyat, that you will be rewarded according to your intention. As long as your intention was not, I hope I'm going to sleep through the walk. Then I cannot make salah just now. Right? Allah knows what you are doing. Right? Allah knows what we are doing. So you can't go lay down, okay, if I sleep through the Walkman, yeah, then I'm forgiven, whatever the case may be. As long as your niyyah was for salah, I'm going to wake up, you've set the alarm and everything to go off, or your phone to go off, and whatever the case may be, so which means your whole niyyah is there to get up. Right? Now let's deal with a hadith of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam that gives an example to that. Right? اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عن أبي قتادة رضي الله عنه قال سرنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليلة فقال بعض القوم لو عرست بنا يا رسول الله. He says Abi Qatada says رضي الله عنه that we were on travel with the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and then some of the people said to the Nabi alayhi salam, Ya Rasulullah, take a rest, and can we rest, and so on, they've been traveling all the time. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then responded and said, Akhafu an tanamu ani salah. I'm afraid that you would sleep and then the waqt for salah would be past. At this point in time, Bilal radiallahu anhu, he responded and he says, Ana uqidukum. I will wake you all. Take the nap. I will wake you all. No? So they went to go sleep. Bilal then sat back and set the back against his horse, and then the sleep overcame him. He was overwhelmed. فَغَلَبَتْهُ عَيْنَاهُ فَنَامَ فَاسْتَيْقَظَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم وَقَدْ طَلَعَ حَاجِبُ الشَّمْسِ. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had woken up, and then the edge of the sun is already on the horizon. Right? It's already risen. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Ya Bilal, ayna ma qulta? Hey Bilal, where are you with your statement that you're going to wake us up? What is this? So he says, Ya Rasulullah, this sleep just overcame me. Just overcame me. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam responded the following. Inna Allah qubida arwahakum hina sha'a wa raddaha alaykum hina sha'a. That Allah Ta'ala takes your ruh, in the moment we sleep, is called a small death. Right? So Allah Ta'ala takes your ruh while you are sleeping, and He returns as He wishes, and He returns it as He wishes. Right? Takes it as He wishes, and returns it as He wishes. I'm now just thinking, if the children must now learn this thing, and the parents are trying to put them to sleep, say, no, Allah's not taken my ruh yet, I can still be awake. Parents are going to be in trouble. That child says, no, not yet. Not yet, not yet. Allah didn't take it yet. It reminds me of one of the exam questions that at our Muslim school, in the Islamic studies exam, the teacher asked a question and the student wrote back, Allah knows best. Allah knows best. No, who's going to argue with Allah knows best? But he's still got it wrong in any case. So, yeah, Allah knows best. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, look, Allah is the one that causes you to sleep, and Allah will cause you to wake up. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Ya Bilal, kum fa'addin fi nasi bis salah, fatawadda falamma irtafa'at al-shams, وَبْيَضَّتْ قَامَ فَصَلَّ بِالنَّاسِ جَمَاعَةً. So the Nabi alayhi salam ordered Bilal alayhi salam, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, ordered him to do the adhan, and the Nabi alayhi salam led them in salah, and the sun had been up already, very bright up, so they made salah in jama'ah. That is one riwayah. Let's go to another one. In Abi Dawud rahimahullah, he says, فَمَا أَيْقَظَهُمْ إِلَّا حَرَّ الشَّمْسِ. The one thing that caused them to wake up was the heat of the sun. فَقَامُوا وَسَارُوا هَنِيَّةً ثُمَّ نَزَلُوا فَتَوَضَّعُوا. So they woke up, they went to go take wudu for salah, وَأَذَّنَ بِلَالْ فَصَلُّوا رَكْعَتَيْ الْفَجْرِ. So Bilal made the adhan, and they did 2 rak'at of Fajr. Now that 2 rak'at of Fajr in the morning, you must never lose it. Even if you're late for Salah. Because the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that the 2 rak'at of Fajr is better than what is in the sama and the earth. Now you tell me, how much do we own of the earth? Very little. Now imagine you get better every day than what is in the sama and what is in the earth. So even if a person comes into the masjid and the imam has started the Fard Salah for Fajr, you join in the Fard Salah. When the imam greets, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then you get up and you do that 2 raka'at Fajr because of the hadith of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Right? So they got up, they made the 2 raka'at sunnah for Fajr, then they made Salatul Fajr, and then they left. فَقَالَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ قَدْ فَرَطْنَا فِي صَلَاتِنَا. So some of them were feeling bad. They say, we've been neglectful with our salah. Look here, we were late and whatever. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then responded. And every response you can see is a lesson for us to learn. First of all, you fell asleep, you couldn't wake up. The Nabi alayhi salam tells you, Allah Ta'ala takes your ruh and Allah Ta'ala sends it back. Now the Nabi alayhi salam, they say, we've been neglectful. Ya Allah, look there, we slept through the waqt for Fajr and whatever. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, إِنَّهُ لَا تَفْرِيدْ فِي النَّوْمِ. There's no negligence in sleep. Because he had a legitimate reason. إِنَّمَا التَّفْرِيدْ فِي الْيَقِظَةِ. Negligence comes when you're awake. Heedlessness comes when you're awake. Carelessness comes when you're awake. You know it's the time for Salah. You know you must go make Salah. And you know that now you know the beginning and the end and the middle and the end of the Salah, but you have not responded, right? فَإِذَا سَهَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَنْ صَلَاةٍ فَلْيُصَلِّهَا حِينَ يَذْكُرُهَا. When one of you then wake up after, or you forget, saha is to forget. You've forgotten, and then when you remember, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, then make Salah. Make your Salah then at that time, right? But then the Nabi alayhi salam added another piece, which we're going to explain afterwards. The Nabi alayhi salam added another piece and says, وَمِنَ الْغَدْ لِلْوَقْتِ, and do the same Salah the next day of that waqt. So if you missed Salatul Fajr, woke up and the sun is up, you make your Salah for Fajr, and the Sunnah of course, then the next day for Fajr, you do another Fajr, according to this hadith. Alright? Now let's carry on. وفي أخرى, another hadith, فَقُمْنَا وَهْلِينَ لِصَلَاتِنَا. So we got up and we were very upset with ourselves because of the salah that we missed. And the Nabi alayhi salam responded, ruwaydan. Easy, easy. لا بأس عليكم. There's no harm that you have done. حتى إذا تعالت الشمس قال رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من كان منكم يركع ركعتين الفجر فليركعها هما. Whoever has done the 2 rakat of Fajr, done it, and those who haven't, do it, right? ثم أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن ينادي بالصلاة. So that was the 2 sunnah, and now the Nabi says, right, do the iqamah, do the iqamah. فنودي بها فقام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فصلى بنا. The Nabi then led them in salah. فلما انصرف, and when they left and when finished, ألا إن بحمد الله لم نكن في شيء من أمور الدنيا يشغلنا عن صلاتنا. The Nabi says, Alhamdulillah, it was not the dunya that delayed us from the salah. That we could do it, that we could not do it on time. It was not because I was busy with something of the dunya. Remember, they fell asleep. Answer, وَلَكِنْ أَرْوَاحَنَا كَانَتْ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ. But our souls have been in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. فَأَرْسَلَهَا أَنَّ شَاءَ. And Allah Ta'ala sends it whenever He wishes. فَمَنْ أَدْرَكَ مِنْكُمْ صَلَاةِ الْغَدَاةِ مِنْ غَدْ صَالِحًا فَلْيَقْضِ مَعَهَا مِثْلَهَا. So the same as the hadith on top, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then says, then tomorrow you do the same salah. So you do your salah over and tomorrow you do the same salah. Al-Bukhari, in looking at the hadith and looking at other hadith, he then says that the meaning of that is man nasiya salatan aw nama alayha falyaqdiha mata dhakaraha aw mata istayqadha min nawmihi wa la yu'iduha fi waqtiha min al-yawm al-tali. That the meaning of the hadith is that when you wake up, you do your salah that you must do, whether it's Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, whatever, you fall asleep, and there is no need to do it again. Other ulama look at the same hadith, or the same ahadith, and says, فيحتمل أنه قال ذلك دفعا لوهم من يتوهم أن صلاة الفجر قد تحول وقتها إلى ذلك الوقت. That the reason why the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had said that, so that you do not assume that when you woke up and you did Salatul Fajr, that that is now the time for Salatul Fajr. Do you understand? So that it cannot be assumed that, okay, right, so this is Salatul Fajr then, because I must wake up and I must do with that. And that is why the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had said that. In another riwayah in Muslim an Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, فَلَمْ يَسْتَيْقِظْ حَتَّى طَلَعَتِ الشَّمْسِ. In Muslim, in the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, they did not wake up until the sun had risen. فَقَالَ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم لَيَأْخُذْ كُلُّ رَجُلْ بِرَأْسِ رَاحِلَتِهِ فَإِنَّ هَذَا مَنْزِلْ حَضَرَنَا فِيهِ الشَّيْطَانِ. That place where the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had been, they woke up, the Nabi alayhi salam told them, everybody take your whatever riding animal you have, horse, camel, whatever, and let's move from this place, because shaitan has come here. Because it would have been highly unlikely that the whole group is falling asleep and nobody wakes up. So the Nabi alayhi salam told them, shaitan has come to this place, let's take our riding animals and let's leave. So that is one reason for a legitimate Shari'i reason for making your salah qada'an. Right? One. Number two, in terms of this, is if a person becomes unconscious, or if a person faints, and then the person stays unconscious from one waqt to another waqt and misses the waqt, or misses two waqts, or misses 3 or 4 waqts. Right? Because of being in a state, and nobody is responsible for their state, for themselves when they are in an unconscious mode. So therefore that is also not a sin until the person gains consciousness from either fainting or whatever reason has become, they become unconscious. Right? Don't forget the Nabi alayhi salam had said in that hadith, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي الْخَطَأُ وَالنِّسْيَانُ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ. That my ummah will not be held responsible if they make a mistake, وَالنِّسْيَانُ, or if they have forgotten, or if they are forced into something. So which tells you what? That if the person has forgotten that it's the waqt, it's been so busy, this, that, especially at work, busy with this, running here, running there, whatever, and then afterwards realizes, Ya Allah, the waqt is gone. Genuinely forgets. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي الْخَطَأُ وَالنِّسْيَانُ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ. That my ummah will not be held responsible if you make a mistake, or you've forgotten, or somebody forced you to do it. That's why forced marriages in Islam doesn't count. You can't force a person to marry. You can't force a person to become Muslim. La ikrah fi din. There's no compulsion in religion. And if a person has made a mistake, then Allah will not keep him responsible for that. Right? People are in what they call it, the forest hunting or whatever the case may be, And then the person sees something and he shoots, and there he shoots his friend dead. So that is a mistake, and so on. So in that case, you will not. So the same with salah. The Nabi ﷺ says, "Man nasiya salatan falyusalli idha dhakaraha." Whoever makes salah and whoever has forgotten that he must make salah, then make salah when you remember it. La kafara laha illa dhalik. There's no other way of expiation, other way to make up, except that you make the salah immediately, what you have missed. Right? And that hadith is in Al-Bukhari and Muslim. And next week, inshallah ta'ala, we'll cover the last one, which deals with jihad, which is also permissibility. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Right, everybody, is there any questions?